of the final things that I want to spend some time refining on my model is the feet and the arms, the hands, if you will. As you can see from the remesh and the simple exploration of the shapes, the feet have turned into these gigantic cubes. And on the surface, that's not necessarily a horrible thing, but at the end of the day, the feet look nothing like a cube. And there are a couple different strategies that we can use when looking at the feet and the hands itself. The first thing that you have to establish on your model is how much detail do you want to have in the feet itself? Do you want claws? Do you want to see the individual fingers and toes? The answers to those questions is really going to drive the remainder of the sequence when looking at these parts of our bear anatomy. For me, the model isn't going to be focused on the feet at all, and I think at the end of the day, once I model a cool little diorama for my character, you're not even going to see the feet. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time sculpturally messing with the feet. The thing that we really need to consider here is the anatomy of the feet, how the forms flow from one shape, a vertical shape up and down, to a horizontal shape across the planes of the feet itself. And the same idea applies to both the back feet over here and the front feet. Okay. So here's some ideas that I would encourage you to look at when sculpting your feet. And of course, I got my symmetry on. I'm not using the Dyntopo tools. I'm just going to use the straight up move tool for the most part. Now, when you're looking at all of this, I want you to work in big, broad brushstrokes initially. Try to find the feet shape that makes sense. The feet are important, and let's do this. I'm going to go into my box hide tool real fast, and I'm just going to hide a good portion of my mesh. There we go. So that I can work with just my feet. Now, when it comes to working with the feet, there are a couple of important ideas that I would encourage you to look at. First and foremost, remember that your character is going to be putting a tremendous amount of mass and weight on this foot. So we want to make sure that it's sculpted appropriately to that mass. And it's a little bit of a challenge. I think my brush is a little bit too big here. There we go. It can be a little bit of a challenge capturing that shape. I think I always try to remember that there's toes, that the shape of our foot on one side is a little bit more flat than the shape of the foot on the other side. And that's a good place to begin our conversation. We don't want them to look like blocks, but they are square-ish in overall mass and volume. Let's just do this. I'm going to increase the shape here just a little bit on the top. Yeah. We're getting there. It does take a little bit of time and energy to work on the feet, but try to remember that there's a slope, a natural slope. The thumb of the foot is always going to be on the inside. Excuse me. This is where the big toe is, and the small toe on the outside of the foot. So this little line here is an important, really easy thing for us to capture on the foot itself. The other thing we also got to be cognizant of is the heel of our foot. The same goes with our arm as well. There needs to be a little bit of a ledge here on the back for our heel. It's not completely, and my mesh is fighting me right now. We're getting these pinches. This is where the Dyntopo tools will come in real quickly. I'm looking and capturing the overall form. Oops. And then I'm going to come in and move them here in a minute. Here, let's just turn Dyntopo on real fast. I'm in my Sculpt Draw brush here. That way I can get rid of some of those weird, pesky little corners. There we go. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's turn it off. Back to the move tool. Okay, so we need to have a heel, and we also need to have this little kick out on the back here. That's an important anatomical detail. You see this on a lot of large quadrupeds. The heel actually extends past the back. So how much of the back is up to you and your artistic choices. I'm going to reduce mine a little bit, but it is an important sculptural detail that needs to be included in the feet. Now, the other really important thing to remember with the foot is how it transitions from the leg. Excuse me, let me jump around over here. We were going straight down, but then we don't have a 90-degree turn in here. There's almost always going to be some sort of transition like this that starts to define the beginning of the toes. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to working with the foot, that there is a bone in here, right about here, and then all of those bones are going to go down like this. So there's actually another series of joints in here. So it's not going to be a perfect 90-degree fall like that. Excuse me. It's not going to be like this and then over. it's going to be, let's make my thickness of my annotation tools bigger. It's going to go joint, joint, like this. Okay, there's going to be an angle in here. So we need to represent and continue that angle in the fall off of our sculpture here along the foot. And there's a tremendous amount of leeway that we can garner with using the foot itself. Okay, it doesn't have to be super accurate. There are some things in the foot shape that are important. This slope here is important. It's also going to taper a little bit as it goes towards the toe. Let me grab my move tool. Yeah, the foot is going to be a little bit bigger at the top, and then it's going to taper as it goes down to the toes. Now for mine, I'm not going to have any claws on mine. I'm just going to have this cool little pad, because I know that the texture is going to do most of the work. I know that I'm going to make a little diorama that is going to be covering the foot a little bit with some leaves and some trees. So I'm not too super concerned with how the foot is going to be working out. But I do want to start to suggest some mass in here. Another thing that I like to do for the feet is make sure that it tapers in the back a little bit. Represents that heel bone. Just give it a little bit of shape. My brush is way too big. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Give it a little bit of shape down here as well. Smooth it out. And then finally, what I'm going to do for my foot, and this is just a great place to begin, is make it a little bit wider along the pad. Kind of suggests some wonderful weight. Having a nice little bump out in here. Yeah, something like this. Just real quickly from a concept stage, from a concept sculpting stage, yeah, this is starting to read, okay, I still have a tremendous amount of work in front of me, but it is light years ahead of what, of where we were when we first started. Another thing that I find extraordinarily helpful when working with feet is putting in an object plane. I'm going to add in just a simple plane here. And then let's just scale it up. Make it look pretty big. Let's go into component mode. I think I'm getting some surface normals flipping out a little bit here. Yeah, and the reason I'm doing this is that I can go in and start to see where my foot is going underneath the plane itself. That's an easy thing to fix on the bear, especially when we pair our sculpting tools, like the plane sculpting tool or the flatten sculpting tool is a really great one. I'm making my brush really big, and I can just start to flatten all this out. It's already a little too... Oop. Let's go into edit mode here. There we go. Now let's go into sculpting mode. There we go. I was wondering why it wasn't moving, because I think I accidentally had my plane still selected instead of my 3D scene, and that's, yeah, there we go. That's what I was expecting. We can kind of flatten out this entire shape. Oops, flatten it out a little too much, but I think you see the idea. By having this plane down here, we have a good target of what we need to do to flatten our shape. We don't want to have our sculpture poking through the floor, nor do we want to have it floating above the floor. There's a relationship here that one has to make that will really help inform the audience as to the weight of this entire sculpture. Yeah, I'm being a control freak right now. Another thing that you can do for feet to accentuate the toe is to bring the inside shape in just a little bit. There we go. That's starting to look like a paw, a bear paw. My heel is a little too human at the moment, so I want to bring it out just a little bit. Just reading a little bit more like a human heel would versus an animal heel. There we go. Some big puffy shapes in the back. Just trying to remind my audience that this is taking in just a huge weight. Yeah, I'm liking that. That's a good place to go. I'm starting to establish how the weight of our character is being translated down to the ground, and how these feet, which kind of turned into like stabilizing pads, if you will, are really influencing our audience's understanding of that weight. If we look at where we began, we began with a shape that was not too dissimilar from our front feet over here. Real blocky. And even though it's not correct at the moment, it certainly is a step in the right direction. So give your feet and your arms, your feet and your hands, as much love and attention as you do the rest of your body. Believe it or not, your audience is going to see it. The sum of all of these individual parts is going to make the conclusion of our audience's understanding for our little sculpture. And I think you're going to find that our little bear concept sculpture is really starting to take shape. Quite literally, with the additions to the sculpting tool set and this workflow that we've established. So use these ideas in your concept sculpture, and I think you're going to find that the overall result is going to be quite good.